All right, everybody. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Is everybody can hear me? I'm trying to project. We do have one speaker here. Welcome, everybody. My name's John Doyle, and welcome to the February meeting of City Island Rising. We appreciate you all being here. It's a very nice turnout for some bad weather we've been having here. So we're going to start in a minute with our guest, who is still... Is our guest, is he here yet or not? Ed's on the way, so we will get to him when he arrives. But we have a lot of other things that we actually have to touch on while we are here. So we'll start just rattling those off as much as possible here. Everybody has an agenda, right? Everyone, there's an agenda. There's a back and front flyer. It's the bus meeting next week and the Rodman's Neck meeting the following week. So we're saving paper. Everybody's notified. These are the two big meetings that you should be going to, because these are meetings that directly impact the community, and these are meetings that if you show up, particularly to the Rodman's Neck meeting, you could make a very big difference. So we want you guys to, if you can make it, let us know. If you need to carpool with someone, email us and we'll let you know who else is going to be there. And we're definitely going to, kind of make that come along here. I think that flyer is actually in the back and front left. Yes. Robin's Neck meeting is open to everyone. All the meetings we give you the flyers for open to. If we gave you flyers for meetings you weren't welcome to, we'd be really horrible people. That would not play well here. So. No, totally understand. So, the first thing, and I've been waiting for a few people to arrive, but the first thing we want you guys to know is the last time we were here, we had a very long discussion. Everyone probably remembers it, about the open storefronts on City Island. And this isn't unique to City Island. It's not the only place this has happened, but. Just so you know, actually, John Paradiso, who's on our board, we got him all the addresses, and he's actually, in consultation with the GIS mapper, we've mapped it all out. So we will be, at the next meeting, we will be handling that, and we will be kind of thinking of ideas for maybe some things that could go in there. But we're going to do it. Next meeting is going to be a very, very visual meeting with a map and kind of collecting ideas and things along that nature. We also, again, these meetings are supposed to be you guys, kind of sounding off and giving us ideas, and then us trying, as a board, trying to collect and trying to work with each other to do positive things here. So, one of those things that many of you brought up was that people don't always, if you're just moved here, sometimes people are not always, there's no one here really to greet you or reach out. So we have started a welcoming committee. So we bring this up at every meeting, but if you know someone who has moved here, Joanne Valletta, who is not here tonight, but is very determined person. She actually goes door to door with Stephanie Fisher, who's also on our board, and they greet people, they give them a bunch of information to welcome them to City Island. It's a really nice thing that they do, and we definitely want, again, it's cityislandrising@gmail.com. Email us, we try to get that out there. The other thing we've been doing, and I don't know if everyone has seen this on News 12, but we've been getting photos of the flooding that's been going on, and this is going to tie into our guest speaker when he arrives. Flooding on, and actually here he is walking through the door right now. Ed, let's give Ed a round of applause. There we go. It's always nice. Do you need a minute, or are you ready to go? He's ready to roll. So without further ado, this is Ed Powell. He's the Senior Outreach Coordinator for the Office of Emergency Management. Here you are, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. I'm Ed Powell, and as you know, I work for New York City Emergency Management. And for folks who might not know what our agency does, you know, we have the mandate to prepare the city of New York for all kinds of emergencies, whether it's hurricanes or floods or power failures or heat waves, you name it. We're supposed to prepare the city. We also coordinate all the other agencies that respond to emergencies. Like during the winter, you know, when they forecast a snowstorm, you see Department of Sanitation come out and spread salt on the street. Then when the snow falls, they come along and remove, well, they're supposed to come along and remove the snow. You'll see fire trucks running around, police cars. We coordinate all those agencies to be sure that they are communicating with each other so as to provide the very best possible response to that emergency. We collect information and we disseminate that information to the public. You'll see TV spots, radio, printed material like Eric is passing out in the back there. And by the way, that material that he's passing out has some very valuable information about preparing for emergencies. My job is talking with lovely New Yorkers like yourselves about how you can best prepare yourself, your family members, even your pets. Anyone have pets?
Everyone.
What do you have? What do you have?
A husky.
A husky. I have a cat and 2 guinea pigs. I have a 12-year-old daughter. On her last birthday, she says, "Daddy, please buy me a guinea pig." So we go to the store. She sees 2 guinea pigs that she likes. I said, "Okay, I'll get you two guinea pigs, but you have to promise me that you'll take care of them." You know who takes care of them, right?
Yeah.
But this is about how you can also prepare your pets for emergencies, not only your family members and yourself. Now there are 3 basic steps to preparing. Step number 1, make a plan. Have that plan in place before the emergency happens. Very, very important. Many people wait until, you know, things get crazy and then, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Quite often it's too late then. So you want to plan what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, you know, have those, well, we'll talk about it. But that's step number 1, making a plan. Step number 2, gathering the supplies you're going to need to have on hand to sustain you through that emergency. Anyone ever hear of a go bag?
Yeah.
You know what that is? Yeah, you know it.
I came from California.
You're from California? Oh, right.
We got some here.
Yeah, and you're from here.
We got some here.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, a go bag is any kind of good, durable bag that you can put emergency supplies into and put it aside for a time when you might have to evacuate from your home for any reason. Well, it doesn't have to be a hurricane. It can be a fire. It might be a gas leak. For any number of reasons that you might have to evacuate, you want to have those supplies on hand to take with you, so to just kind of sustain yourself while you're away from home. And incidentally, with that go bag, you're gonna want to make a little go bag for your pet. Yeah, you're gonna put. You got a cat like me. I have some cat food in there. I have not a big one like me, but a small go bag. I have some cat food. I have some cat litter, some water. I have a record of my cat's inoculations. In the event we need to go to a shelter, then you know I can show them. Well, my cat's been inoculated. Don't have to worry about anybody getting sick from my cat. Okay. Step number 3, getting informed. making yourself aware of all the resources that are available to you, and there are many, and we'll talk about that too. But let's go back to step number one, making a plan. Part of anyone's plan and everyone's plan should be creating an emergency support network of people. Can be family members, could be friends from here, could be people from your house of worship or a club that you belong to, but people who you can count on to keep in touch with you during an emergency. You don't want to go through it alone. That's the worst. I did this presentation in Coney Island in Brooklyn. And after the presentation, a lovely lady came to me and she said, gosh, I wish I had heard this before Superstorm Sandy hit. She said, I was all alone. I had no one to contact. No one contacted me, and I was terrified. No one should have to go through that alone. So you want to have a network of people who will keep in touch with each other. It can be as many people as you'd like. I suggest at least 6, 7 people. At least a couple of those people you should be able to trust, even with a set of keys to your home. In the event, God forbid, something were to happen to you inside and you're unable to respond to the door, they can come open the door, let emergency responders come in and help you. Or they themselves could come in and help you. They should ideally live close by. Not everyone will live close by, but some of the people should live close by. So they have easy and quick access to you if that becomes necessary. But here's the kicker. In your support network of people, you should have at least 1 or 2 people who live outside of New York State, who live in an entirely different state, far away. Now, I know by the looks I'm getting, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
It does.
Someone tell me how someone living in Chicago could help you here in New York when you're having an emergency here.
Contact all of you. They can do all your contacts, or if you have to get in touch with people, and they can be your central.
Sure. Excellent. They could be a source of contacting other people for you. Does anyone remember the last big blackout we had? When all the power went off? Oh gosh. That was something. People had to walk across bridges to get home and this and that in the dark. It was 16 years ago on August 14th. Now, you know how I remember that date so well?
You had to walk.
You're close. It was my wedding day. And all the lights went off.
You could have come to City Island, because parts of City Island had lights.
Yeah, I should have come here.
Princess wedding day, pilot code.
I live in Brooklyn, and after our reception, we come back to my apartment, put a few things in the suitcase. Oh, we had this elaborate plan. We were going to have this romantic drive to Niagara Falls. Oh, it's going to be so nice. So we're back in my apartment, we're putting things in the suitcase, and I noticed the light in my bedroom started to blink on and off. We live in an apartment. I live in an apartment. Lights started to go up and on. Then they went off entirely. Oh my goodness, I have to tell you, I was so mad, I was furious, because I thought the super did it. I go running down, beating on the super. What's wrong with you? You blew out all the lights in the building, man. He said, Mr. Powell, I didn't do it. He said, look outside. And I looked outside. The traffic signals were not working. Cars were jammed up in this intersection, honking their horns. People walking around confused, had no idea what was going on. I guess I don't have to tell you, we didn't get to have our romantic drive tonight. Boss, I'm stuck in Brooklyn, in my apartment, in the dark.
Enough said.
Wasn't too bad.
Not too shabby.
No, I mentioned that for this reason. When all the power went off, it was very, very difficult in most areas of New York. Very difficult to make a local phone call. If you wanted to call around one of the 5 boroughs, you had to wait and wait, even with cell phones. You had to wait and wait and wait. And if you were lucky, in a couple of hours, maybe you got through. But if you wanted to call Uncle George, who lives in Chicago, got right through, just like always. That's why you need that out-of-town contact in your support network. Call Uncle George. Uncle George, you remember you agreed to be part of our network, our support network here in New York with our family and everybody. Well, I can't reach anybody in the family. You know, if we had this big power failure, all the lights went off. I can't get in touch with anybody in the family. My daughter who lives in Brooklyn, or my cousin who lives in Staten Island, I can't get in touch with them. But we can all reach you, everybody in this network. We can all reach you, and you can reach all of us. So, when they call you, let them know I'm over at Clipper. I'm okay. I'm fine. You know?
You also got your news from them as to actually what was happening in the city.
Yeah. Yeah.
We called DC. My sister was in DC.
Mhm.
And we're like, did you hear anything? The lights are out in New York. Because nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Had a very similar thing happen during the last earthquake. I was in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
and there was no contact. You couldn't call anybody. Everything had fallen down. I was like hiding under my bed.
Oh.
And when we could get out, when they felt it was safe to leave, I was in the apartment building. I was able to call my mother in Florida.
Mhm.
Nobody could make a local call.
No
like you
one,
said.
no local
And then
call.
my mother, you know, she could contact everybody. So I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's important, and the local calls were just jammed.
So it's so crucially important that you organize that network of people. And you know, don't say, oh, I'm gonna do it, but you know, right now I don't have time. You don't know when that next emergency is gonna happen. I would suggest you do that as soon as you can, even as soon as tomorrow. Talk to some friends, some relatives. Look, let's just do this. You know, that's this funny-looking guy over at Clipper last night. He was talking, and he made me think about it. You know. Okay. I won't pursue that any further. I suggest that everyone get a little notebook. One of those little 50-cent notebooks, little binder notebooks. In that notebook, write down the contact information for everybody in your support network. As many people as there are, name and phone number at least. If you want to put email and all that good stuff, fine. But at minimum, name and phone number. Also in that notebook, you're going to write down your important health and medical information. The correct spelling of that medicine you take. I take medicine and I can't even pronounce it. You know, if somebody asks me, I'd have to show them because it's so many syllables. Write down that information. Write down the name of that medicine, why you take it, what the dosage is, with what frequency do you take it. Important. Write all that down. Write down your allergies in your little book. Write down what you're allergic to. Am I taking too much time here?
You're doing good.
Yes, I can-
You're good. You got,
Okay.
you got a
I'm
few
gonna
minutes.
wrap up
Yeah,
in a few
you got a few minutes, my friend.
Write down your all your important medical information. Your doctor's name and phone number. Your pharmacist's phone number. And again, your allergies. Anyone allergic to penicillin?
Yes.
I am too. I am too. Why am I suggesting that you do this? Why are you writing down your contact information for your support network and your medical information in this little booklet? And here's the thing, keep it with you all the time. Why am I suggesting that you do that? Anybody?
Because if you're unconscious, somebody will know.
Oh, you know all the answers. Somebody else.
We live in a flood zone. We have evacuated.
Yep. God forbid, you're walking across the street one day, you slip and fall, you hit your head, you're unconscious. Someone sees you and they call 911. The ambulance comes, you're allergic to penicillin or any medication. They see you there, you got a little scrape on your head. Now, emergency responders are trained to look for something like that little notebook on you. You're unconscious, little notebook, a little piece of paper, bracelet, something that has your important health and medical information. So they'll know what to go by when they're treating you. You're lying there, you're unconscious, a little scrape on your head. Oh my goodness, she's got a little scrape. She's gonna need a shot of penicillin. Now, if you have that little notebook, they'll look at the notebook and say, oh no, she's not penicillin, she's allergic to that. You have to give her something else. So you avoid having that adverse reaction to a medication that you're allergic to. Here's another reason why you are going to write this information down. Because, you know, what's Uncle George's area code in Chicago? What's his phone number? I can't remember. And when emergencies happen, even those of us who might not have memory problems otherwise, when emergencies happen, we tend to panic a little. And in that state of mind, it's very difficult to remember like detailed information, like phone numbers, for example. So, if you have that written down, you just pull it out. Oh, here's Uncle George's phone number. I can call him. You save minutes. You save precious minutes. And lives are lost or saved in an emergency within minutes. Save precious minutes. Okay. I'm just going to abbreviate the rest of the presentation because I don't want to, take up too much time here. Second step to preparing for emergencies, gathering supplies. Well, we talked about go bags. Most of us know what a go bag is. Again, it's any kind of good strong bag that you can put emergency supplies into and keep them for a time when you have to evacuate from your home. Someone tell me one item, just raise your hand, don't yell it out. One item that you would put in your go bag.
Medication.
So who was that? Who said, you're gonna get spanked? Raise your hand, like in school.
Losing points here.
I saw you first.
Flashlight with batteries.
Flashlight with extra batteries. Awesome. Keep the batteries separate. Don't put them in the flashlight. They could possibly discharge in the flashlight over a period of time. Keep it separate so that it will work for sure when you need it. Now,
Medication.
medication. Not all your medication. Put, some of your medication into a Ziploc plastic bag. Place that inside your go bag. Yes, sir.
A radio.
A radio.
Wind-up radio.
That's a great idea if you can get your hands on one of those wind-up radios. Because it serves not only as a radio, you can charge your cell phone on it. Some of them have a flashlight on it, and you don't need batteries. You can just wind it up and it works. What else?
Water.
Water. Not a big jug of water. You got to carry this thing. So we're going to put a few little bottles of water in. What else? I see a hand. Money! You'd be surprised how often people don't say money. But you're gonna need some money. Are you talking about cash or a credit card? Cash. Because if the power goes, the ATM ain't working. That's right. Cash. And you'd be surprised, in New York City, there are still some vending machines that don't take bills or credit cards. You have to have coins. Put some coins in there. What else? Yes, sir.
Snacks.
Snacks, sure. I did this presentation at a shelter in the Bronx here. And I asked that question, someone said, yeah, I'm gonna put food in mine. So I said, fine. What kind of food are you gonna put in? So this one lady said, I know, call me. I said, okay, what kind of food are you gonna put in your go bag? She said, I'm gonna put a pot of beans in mine. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that. That's a little heavy. And it's gonna spoil. Yeah? So, my suggestion is energy bars. You know, they look like candy, but they're not. They're energy bars. And they're nutritious and lightweight. So, get some energy bars, throw them in there. There are many, many suggestions in that pamphlet. This one, Ready New York, My Emergency Plan. A lot of suggestions about things to put in your go bag. They are only suggestions. Put in your go bag what you want to put in there. Your important papers, your ID, make copies, not the originals. Put those copies into a plastic Ziploc bag, put that in your go bag. Plastic Ziploc bag, why? Because common sense, because it could get wet otherwise. Okay, a lot of stuff there in your booklet. Please don't go home and just throw it in the garbage. This could help save your life. Third and last step to preparing for emergencies is getting informed. In the back of your booklet, may I use your booklet? In the back of the booklet, the last few pages are green and white. I'm going to get to you in just a second. Green and white pages contain a lot of important information on preparing for emergencies, information that will help you during an emergency and even after. It'll help you kind of get back on your feet. There's information in here on hurricane preparedness, the city's 6 hurricane evacuation zones. It's important to look at that and identify where you live. It has shelters, hurricane evacuation shelters for all 5 boroughs. You can identify which one is closest to you. And Eric is passing out some other important information. I think I better stop here because otherwise I don't want to get thrown out of here. So, just let me take a minute. Yes, sir.
I just have one more thing to add, and it's not something that you have to do, but before an emergency occurs, be sure to fill your car with a full tank of gas.
Yes. Yes.
I've seen you get distracted all over because of gas.
Absolutely. And normally I go over all of that and about filling up your bathtub with water and everything. You'll find the information in your booklet. But let me just take a moment to thank you guys for listening to me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Let's give Ed another round of applause. He was great. And you're going to stick around for a few minutes. If people have questions, they can ask you on the side. Not every day we get an emergency expert here, so I know people might want to have a conversation with him on the side. This is actually the first part of a lot of things we're doing with OEM. So I believe either next month or the month after, one of Ed's colleagues is going to come here, and we're going to start doing a community emergency plan. So Ed's kind of like the founding father here. He kind of set us off with the individual plan, then we'll do the community plan, and then we're going to be talking about some of the other stuff that we're doing that we'll get to later on. But without further ado, we got a big agenda tonight, and I don't want to keep anyone here past 9 o'clock. So Louise is going to come and speak about some of the stuff we're working on as well. So let's give her a round of applause, please.
Yeah, Ed's going in the back.
Hi everyone, again it's Louisa. So I just want to speak briefly about, came out up at our last board meeting a few weeks ago, and we thought this was a good time to discuss it, get ahead of things, because we want to make sure we have a voice and so on. So it came up about ferry expansion. This is a big thing now with the city and EDC. So the board ended up passing a resolution saying we would support ferry expansion efforts that benefit City Island residents as an organization. With that being said, EDC actually just scheduled a meeting here in the Bronx to hear public testimony at, I think we all know where it is, Villa Barone Manor, which is 737 Throgs Neck Expressway. I think we've all been there for a wedding or two. But with that being said, it's on Tuesday, March 3rd. I'm looking around just to make sure I'm saying the right date, at 6 p.m. And we plan on giving testimony. So we just wanted to update the organization about that. And I think that's it on my end. So thank you.
Thank you, Louisa. And this is just very...
6, right?
6 o'clock, yes, and we're gonna e-blast out, so if everyone gave Carrie their information, their contact information with their email, that's interactive. We do, anytime we get something, we e-blast out, we put it on social media, but it's very important that City Island have a seat at the table when these transportation mediums are being discussed. And, you know, as Louisa said, you know, we're not the experts, so to speak, but it's important that any new changes to expand ferry service be done with City Island in mind in ways that can benefit us, however they manifest themselves to be. It's important that we be there, we be in the room, and we move those things forward. The next thing we did is actually, David, do you want to speak a little bit New York Renews and some of the stuff we've been doing with flooding?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm putting everyone on the spot. It's pop quiz left and right today, yes.
hey guys, how we all doing this evening? All right, this is probably a good time to talk about this a little bit because we have had a lot of rain over the last couple of days, and we have seen the flooding. And I know that it sort of brings up a lot of different thoughts, but we have been working with a organization called New York Renews. New York Renews is sort of a coalition of a lot of different groups, right? But their primary focus is to go and lobby and push for funding for climate issues in Albany, right? Yep. Oh yeah, I thought you had a question. So we as an organization decided that we would like to be a part of that coalition. So we are working the process of making sure we're all covered. But yes, I think it is something that truly we all can kind of get behind, right? We know that we have this crisis that we are headed into. We are a frontline community, and I think the more that we are in front of it and talking to the people in Albany and talking to our local officials, the better it'll be for us overall, right?
Get that money.
Get that money. That's it. All right.
Okay, great, thank you very much. And as David said, it's important to be, this group is very much involved in making sure that the money that's being collected through the new community conservation,
Yes.
it's community,
CPIA now.
CPIA, is that the money that's been from the state, kind of the state's Green New Deal, should be redirected towards frontline communities. And as you can see from your map, that's us. So we want to make sure through David's activism.
So yes, what they're trying to do is make sure the focus goes on communities that actually are most affected by it, right?
Yes.
Because and that includes all of it. Like we have here in the Bronx, we have some of the highest rates of asthma in children because of the fact of where we're located. We have highways, major highways all through every part of our neighborhood. So yes, this takes into consideration that these are the communities that should get that money first.
So that, you're going to see some stuff with our logo on it, our new logo that Kim just designed, which you've all seen on social media. Thank you, Kim. And also probably stuff with New York Renews. this is to notify everyone who's here is that we're working in partnership with them. We're actually going to be doing a training, which everyone here is going to be invited to. The whole community is going to be invited to. We're actually going to do a training on different activist techniques to kind of help secure funding. In that vein, I actually went, Senator Biaggi, and we put this on our social media channels. I believe we e-blasted out on this. All the New York State senators who represent the Bronx, there were 5 of them, they all had a budget forum, and it was on the other side of the Bronx. And I went, and Barbara Zahn went, and Lois Waugh went, and we were the only 3 people, I think, from the East Bronx there, but we rolled in a pack, and the good thing about that was, first, our presence was noted because we were the only people from the east side of the district, and really the East Bronx that were there. And we took some time to talk about some of the issues that are common not just to City Island, but to Schuyler Hill and to Edgewater and some of the areas we share. So we talked about, again, getting the resiliency money like David just spoke about, making sure the senators know that we have flooding here, whether it's in Pelham Bay Park, whether it's by Bridge Street, whether it's by Ditmars Avenue, and that we're expecting when this money goes back to frontline communities that we're only 4,500 people, so we're a small community. If we don't raise our voices sometimes, we can be left out of the discussion. That's why it's important to be so active and so organized and to work as well as we can with the other groups here. So we are going to be doing something on resiliency.
I just want to add to that because we are lucky to have the some of the representatives that we have with Biaggi and AOC and stuff like that, but the reality is you still, even with them, you need to stay in front of them. You need to continually to remind them exactly what it is that we need, right? So
yeah, and again, all of our elected officials are very good. They have many talents and skills. They're not clairvoyant, so they're not reading minds. So we have to get out there, as David said, and we have to make sure they're familiar with what our needs are. Beyond just the flooding issues that we've been having, we also mentioned water quality, which is a tremendously important issue. The fact that the Hutch is incredibly polluted, and the fact that organizations like Save the Sound at our October environmental meeting, we spoke about this, that every other area of the Long Island Sound, when it was given a letter grade, got better. We were an F when they started in 2008, and we're an F now. So we don't think that's acceptable. And we are working with the state, and definitely I think we got a lot of the state senators' attention who were there to make sure that they are aware that we're expecting kind of all hands on deck to deal with this. Beyond that, the third thing we brought up was Rodman's Neck. As many of you know, probably everyone here knows, and I know you know more than anybody because you were right there. Not only is it loud, but also it's being utilized by different police departments throughout the state. And one of the things we pushed for, and I said on the precinct council as well, is that we're expecting the state to hopefully come in there and be helpful in providing soundproofing and dealing with possible environmental concerns as they exist. So we tried to be broad in our concerns. Again, all things that are very important to City Island, but broad because, and I'll get right to you, Miss, I promise, because it's not just City Island related issues. There are people in Schuyler Hill and in Silver Beach and in Throgs Neck and in Edgewater who have those same concerns. So the more commonalities we can find with other communities, the more coalitions we can build, the more people we have to our cause, the louder our voices, and the more of a pain in the rear end we can be when we need our fair share. Go ahead.
I'm Rodman's Neck. It's been for years now. What resolution have we
Sure.
trying to attain?
So, very good question. Back in 2007, Mayor Bloomberg, now presidential candidate Bloomberg, came to right to this area and stood in front of every elected official you could possibly imagine at the time and said, we're going to, people complained about the noise at this range. It's gotten worse after 9/11 because they're doing automatic firing range testing and the bombs. And what we're going to do to make things better is we're going to move it to Queens. That's what he said at the time. They drug us on with that for 6-7 years. Then Bob and I, Bob Beater, who's standing right there, he's the president of the precinct council. We went to a meeting with Bratton. We asked some very tough questions. We found out they're not moving. So we have been trying since then. It was actually written into the statute for when they alienated the parkland for Rodman's Neck. It was written into the statute that the precinct council has to be briefed on everything that happens. So Bob, myself, Annie Bowler from Pelham Bay, we have been extremely active in trying to have these meetings, have them on a regular basis. They have appropriated $275 million. Now they're telling us that it's going to be, you walked in at just the right moment. I did not plan that. But we are having this meeting, and the reason I'm bringing this up and being a pain is because, frankly, I agree with you that it's not reaching a resolution as quickly as we would like. Now, again, there is an RFP that is out. There is a contractor who has been hired to do this work. So it's not as if things are not going anywhere, but they're saying now they need more money. So this is why, I agree, I'm with you. But this is why, there's sometimes when Bob and I and Beverly and David and everyone over here can raise our voices, but it's better if we all show up at this meeting and say this matters to all of us. If 100 people were to show up at this meeting, it would show the powers that be down at One Police Plaza and at City Hall that we care about this. So I need you to help me help you. I need 100 people to show up at this meeting. And I will be, you're going to see me knocking doors, and not just here. I actually met with the Spencer Estates Civic Association vice president. Yeah, I'm going to be over there too, putting this in mailboxes, trying to get foil for a reason. I put in all the foil across Freedom of Information law, and then I try to foil their plans. That's a different type of foil. But they literally gave us back a one-page document, and half of it was blacked out. So again, I need your help to help me show the NYPD this is something you care about. I can't, and Bob can't, and nobody can do this on their own. If everybody just shows up and gives a mean look to these people, it's not actually mean to them, just gives them the look that you're serious about this, that'll bring change.
Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
I'll speak loud. Yeah, one thing we have to, all right.
John,
One thing that rarely gets measured that really teased me off when I heard there was like 10, 15 tons of lead in those embankments where all the bullets go into. That lead is just washing into the environment. That is a huge pollution issue. Yeah, the sound is bad, but what about that? I mean, we have to come on with knowledge if we're going to go to that. I'm going to go, I'm definitely going to go after what you said. But we have to be out there telling them what really bothers us. Lead bothers me.
Yes. And I'm
Just
glad.
like the state, but the federal government is using Rodman's Neck as well as the state.
That's very true. And the Norwalk Police Department uses Rodman's Neck. Do you know how I know? They sent their bomb tank over here one day, and I was stuck behind them in traffic, so I got a nice picture of them. And I bring that to the meetings when they tell me that only the NYPD uses this range. But to the environmental concerns, we have not forgotten about that. You remember 2 years ago, there was a lead complaint. They actually shut down part of the Department of Corrections. We have been on top of them. But we are told verbally everything is okay. And Lois is shaking her head because Lois worked in government a long time. If anyone tells you something verbally and they won't put it in writing, that person is lying to you. Now, I'm not going to give, yes, Bob, go ahead. I'm not going to give names, but,
Just as far as the budget is concerned. The $275 million, basically, they need twice as much as what they're telling us.
Yeah.
They went back to Office of Management, it's utterly ridiculous. They went back to Office of Management budget, waiting for an answer from them. As far as the sound abatement in the meantime is concerned, they said it has to be a temporary fix, and temporary by the city standards is 5 years. I said, well, we know this project is gonna take more than 5 years. That's a no-brainer. So supposedly, and again, don't hold me to it till they tell me for sure, but supposedly at this meeting, they're supposed to have a plan for the sound abatement. So I know that's been the #1 concern for City Islanders. The lead is definitely a concern, and they have been studying it, they have been doing their testing. So, there's just so much that you and I can do as citizens, but certainly keeping an eye on it, looking at their testings. I know John has some people that know what these testings actually mean.
yes.
So, they're staying on top of that as well. But as far as the meeting is concerned next week, we have rescheduled this meeting about 6 times. I was asked to reschedule it for somebody else, and I said, there's no way. I'm doing that again. So, it's locked in. You know, coming out, hearing what they have to say firsthand is huge. You know, so it really is important, as John said, to have some bodies there, to have people really hear firsthand what's going on.
And Bob's, again, every month, Bob is on the phone with the Capital Division, tapping them, and Bob knows this. I send him nasty emails, but I tell him I'm going to send these nasty emails that he then forwards to them. So he's more the good cop, I'm more the bad cop. And Louise's father-in-law actually sends us videos now where you can hear at like 6:45 in the morning the loudspeaker.
We sent them that as
Yes,
well.
we send them that. So again, if you guys have evidence, everyone has one of these days.
They're actually lined up
They're-
at 5 to 6 in
Yes.
the morning, waiting to get into Rodman's net.
Yes.
Like, and you think
Yes.
that, like, I'm like, what's going on? And you realize it's
I thought they were
not
giving away free cheese.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There you
I was
go.
like, you feel like you want to get on the line because you don't know what's there, but they're lined up.
But if you see something outrageous, get it on video. We'll play it at the meetings. We'll try to get you answers. But again, we need Bob and I and everyone
You
else.
can just document the time
Yes.
when they're starting before they're supposed to.
Yes.
You know, just let us know dates and times. You know, the more detail you give us, the more we can go after.
And we need,
What time is
It's supposed to start at what, 7:30?
I believe it's 7:30. We put it online, but I'll put it online again. Yeah.
We'll get that information
Yeah.
out again.
And I'll look it up when I'm off the mic here. Yes.
Yeah, that's critical.
Isn't there supposed to be an alert system when they're sounding off the bomb?
The bombs, yes. If you sign up to the Notify NYC, they do send it out the more. I have to say, and again, I hate the bombs as much as anyone else, but if you sign up for the Notify NYC, you do get the emails.
Emails?
You get an email notifying you that the bomb is going to go off in a few hours. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. I'm with you, but just keep that in mind. Okay. Again, I'm going to keep going here because we have a lot to cover. So from the last meeting, we had 3 things that we wanted to bring up. This is from our board meeting that we then brought to you guys. So again, some of these are different proposals that we're trying to get in front of some of the movers and shakers of government. So letter number 1, and these I'm going to ask for a motion because I don't like doing things just for me. I like to do them from our whole group. And before I send out a letter, I want to know that you guys know about it and something you guys care about. So letter number 1 is it's to Andy Byford, who is the outgoing MTA president, and we're going to hear a little bit more about the MTA in a few minutes, and the DOT commissioner, Train Daddy, yes, that's what he called himself. And this is basically asking for them to examine. As everyone here knows, we had the captain here, we had council member Jonai here, and they are trying, but we go through the same thing with traffic year after year, and it's Groundhog's Day. One weekend it's great, next weekend it's terrible, the next weekend it's great, then they tell us that they spoke to the new cops, and now they know, but the truth is we have to start thinking of different ways that are out of the box to deal with this.
Tomorrow's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Everybody think about Valentine's Day tomorrow?
Yeah.
Friday night,
And
nice weekend?
some of it is like Louisa says, and it's about different modes of transportation. And in keeping with that, as everyone here knows, the 29 bus is going to be modified. It's only going to be a City Island Loop bus. It's not going to get stuck on I-95 anymore, so it's going to be much more reliable. That's good, yes. And thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. It has been a long walk.
I didn't hear that part. I didn't hear it.
The 29 bus is going to be on the half hour, even during evenings, and it's going to be 24/7.
And where does it go? It goes to
Pelham Bay Station
and then back.
and back. So it's not going to get stuck on I-95, which is what was happening. It was getting stuck in one of the worst bottlenecks in the country, and that was, that's why the bus wasn't reliable. But one of the other reasons that the bus sometimes isn't reliable is because it gets stuck up here on City Island Road. So what we were asking for the MTA and for DOT to examine is the possibility of trying to get everyone here's been to Pelham Parkway, right? Mm-hmm. Where they have the dedicated bus lane? Mm-hmm. We have these 2 half-shoulder lanes. They're not doing anything for anyone in this community. And if they could examine a bus lane to get the bus in and get the bus out, maybe it would be helpful to people who are waiting in traffic, who are visiting, to see if you get on this bus, you go right through that traffic. So we have to find different ways to think outside the box to incentivize people to get here in some different ways. And this way is more environmentally friendly. And the bus is now going to be much more reliable this summer, knock on wood. And so if it's okay with everyone, I'm going to make a motion that we send this letter to the MTA and to DOT asking for them to examine putting a bus lane on City Island Road. And we have CC'd our elected officials because if they need to alienate a little bit of parkland to do that, that's something they should consider. So I'm going to make the motion. Can I get a second on the motion?
Second.
Robbie is the second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Again, this is just an examination, so thank you for that.
Question?
Yes, question, I'm sorry. Rick.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of details on this, but I
Yeah.
saw something a little while ago and I posted it on
Mhm.
Facebook, might have been on the Civics page, sorry.
Everyone reads it, don't worry. It's fine.
There's a plan afoot apparently in the Department of Transportation or MTA or somebody
Mhm.
like that
Yes.
to contract with cab services like Uber and
Yes.
Lyft in places like here that have only infrequent bus service.
Mhm.
Late at night, you get off the end of the subway, you can just call an Uber, and apparently the city will pay for it, or you pay for it on your MetroCard, or something like that.
Yeah, I saw it's a pilot program.
Yeah.
I read it. I think actually I probably saw what you posted. No, I mean, look, if they do it here, that's great. I believe they were trying, it's a pilot program. I think they were trying in a few other neighborhoods first. Look, if they bring it here, that'd be great too. But, you know, we do need 24/7 bus service, and we are getting that. So hang on just a little while longer on that one. Second letter is, and this is something we actually discussed, I believe, at the last meeting. Everyone here saw the post. Con Edison is going to be doing some work in Pelham Bay Park. They're going to be putting in a 6-inch gas pipeline, well, or pipe rather, not pipeline, within Pelham Bay Park. And they also got approved by the Public Service Commission to raise all our utility rates. Yes, that went up a little bit too. So we are asking, since they're already doing work here, and since they're already raising our rates, that we are one of the few communities where the electrical lines are above ground. And as everyone here knows, and it was like this 2 Fridays ago, when that wind blows, you know, your cable, your electric, your Wi-Fi, a lot of stuff's going out. So we're asking for them to examine putting the wires underground. Again, they're already doing work, examination. I hope, you can clap when it gets done. Hopefully it does get done. I don't want to, again, we can only request they look into things. So what we are asking for them to do is to examine this, because you're already charging us now even more for subpar service.
I think we need to demand that.
Yes, I'm with you.
Charging us, I mean, wow.
I'm with you, that's why, so I'm going to take that as a second of the motion. Thank you very much, I appreciate that. Any questions? Always, miss, go.
Can I go back to the bus?
The bus, sure.
Okay, my concern about the bus here 24/7
Yeah.
is that recently I read a lot on the City Island page on Facebook.
Yeah.
There's been break-ins, there was a homeless man coming into somebody's
Mhm.
home and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so give access to, nighttime is a dangerous time.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are looking to do
Yeah.
bad things, right? And it would bring a lot of people in from outside of the island that may be here for the wrong reasons.
Well, I can understand, you know, the cause for concern. What I would say is that, again, you know, these are people, you know, people who are commuting, who are getting on the bus, and I don't see this really adding to that problem. But, you know, if there are people who are breaking the law, let's work together to try to go after those few bad apples. Let's not ruin a good service for the rest of us, because there are a lot of people who work in the restaurants, who work non-traditional hours, who are blue-collar folk, who don't work a regular 9-to-5 job and would appreciate a service like this. That's why, like, 1,000 people signed that petition, because they need a better, reliable service. So if there are a few, you know, for lack of a better term, freak accidents here, we will deal with that on a one-on-one basis, and we will try to make sure that our community affairs officers are dealing with that as well.
Five boroughs have 24 hours, 7
Yes.
days a week, 365 days a year services.
I agree.
Not an issue anywhere else.
Yeah. So
I think we got enough back people coming in by car.
I agree with that too. Rosa's right on that. So back to Con Edison, because we had a second on the motion. Does anyone have a question about the Con Edison and asking for the utility lines, asking them to consider putting them underground? Okay, so we're gonna send this letter, and then later on, after we start engaging in dialogue, we're probably gonna ask people to call their state elected officials, because the state regulates Con Edison.
John, you gotta vote on it, technically.
Yes, so all in favor?
Right.
All opposed? Again, this is just to examine it. Okay. And the last letter is for, this is actually something Alex isn't here, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is something he brought up at the last meeting, and it's trying to make the kind of downtown City Island area more pedestrian friendly. You recall when the commissioner came 2 months ago, Commissioner Lopez, this was something people said that between basically Carroll and Bay Street, sometimes it's hard to cross the street. We've only got the one light at Fordham Street, and if there's Hawkins Park here, there's a lot of, hopefully there'll be even more commerce coming in here. So what we are just asking him to do is to examine different ways to make it more pedestrian friendly. Maybe it's a build out of the curbs to kind of slow down traffic. Again, we don't profess to be traffic experts, it's just asking them to look into it. So I'm gonna make a motion that we pass this as well.
Just a comment before
Yes.
you vote on that. One of the things they're doing all over the city is creating bus hubs where they're bringing it out pretty far. They're creating these islands in the middle of the street, taking away lanes.
Yeah.
With your traffic situation the way it is,
Yeah.
I'd want that narrowed down before you said something general.
Okay.
To DOT.
All right.
Come up with a
Because we
plan
can't
of your own that you really want.
Okay.
Because they'll liable to come in and do something you hate.
All right, I'm gonna work with you, and we're gonna come up with a better suggestion. We're gonna put, so, I agree with Bob. What we're gonna do is we're gonna table this one for a little bit, and we're gonna come up with some specific things that people want. That was a good suggestion. And that's why this is an interactive thing, because I don't pretend to know all the answers here. The last thing we said was actually gonna be an announcement that we teased about to get people into the room. And we want people here, so sometimes we have to be shameless in keeping some of you in suspense. But everyone here recalls last year at around summertime, Dan and I and others were pushing to get a speed camera near the school. Many of you are complaining. The state passed legislation to put speed cameras in virtually every single school. And they're supposed to be on from 6 in the morning to 10 at night, every day. Not just 5 days, all 7 days. So, just on school days rather. So it will be will be helpful on Friday, but it's better than not having it at all. So it is an improvement. As many people here know, because they've gotten tickets and they've decided to post them online, and some of you have been kind enough to actually point out that I'm the one who requested this to these people and they're angry, so thank you for that. But they have been measuring, and we were kind of on the edge there with it. And again, as I was saying earlier with a lot of the climate stuff, we are a small community of 4,500 people. So if we're not loud, it's very easy to forget about us. So actually, Assemblyman Benedetto had a meeting with the mayor's office, and this was one of his asks of them because we were on the ledge. So as a result of his efforts and kind of some of the things we've done here as a community, so we valued it, by June there will be a permanent speed camera by PS 175. So that's the good news of today that we were teasing about. It'll be permanent, it won't be on someone's car, so you won't get the tip-off that sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. But these cameras have been shown to reduce speed. When people are caught once, they're usually not caught speeding again. So the hope is that this will dramatically make City Island a safer place, and at least on Friday nights, make it a place that is much safer, because that's when the speed camera's on. And again, if they choose to expand the operations of the speed cameras later on, then we already have one up. So we're kind of ahead of the game, If they expand the speed camera, we'll be in a good position for that.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do they only get a fine without points?
Yes.
Yes, they get a fine without points,
People don't
but
care about that so much. If they get points, then they'll
They
stop.
just
Well,
get a legislation.
actually, yeah, I think I know what my friend is going to say. Go ahead, sir.
As someone who actually got a ticket last week via the speed cameras, I wasn't going that fast.
We've all gotten the speed
5
camera.
miles over,
Yes.
a new car, you can't
That's true.
That house, $50, that pisses me off. So there's a reason why if you get caught,
Yes.
you don't get caught again.
Yeah, there's also statistics show that out of every 100 people that get a, it's give or take, if 100 people get a speed camera ticket, only 45 of them get a second ever. So out of over half of them.
They just also.
Well, you know,
By the stats, yeah.
by the stats, so you're one of 45 people. So and just as a parent of a kid in the school, you shouldn't be speeding by the school. It's not safe. It's already a little sketchy there with the double parking and all that stuff. So if this deters it even a little bit, it's worth the $50 in my mind.
Good. Roy, and then Millie, and then we'll come back to you, sir.
Sorry, did I cut you off? I didn't mean to.
No.
Okay.
Just pimping another thing that I posted to Facebook recently.
There we go. You're trying to build your followers here on the backs of this meeting, but we're
Remember to
fine with
like,
it.
what is it, subscribe? Yeah. So there was a new regulation that just passed in the city council about 2 days ago, I believe. If you get within 12 months, 5
I heard
speed
that,
camera
that's what I was
tickets,
gonna say that.
your car can be booted and confiscated.
They just heard that. And that's,
I think it's more than 5. They changed it. I believe it's 15.
Okay, they changed it?
I don't know. I can't tell you the number, but I did hear that.
My
They did.
understanding is that it passed the city
It did.
council and it has not actually been signed into law
But it will
yet,
be,
but
yeah.
it will be. The other interesting thing, I'm not going to embarrass anybody in particular, but I will point out that one of our elected officials who has frequented these meetings is actually part of that group of people who have gotten more than 5 speeding tickets in the last.
And Roy's going to post his name on social media later, so you got to turn into Roy to find out who that
I'm
is.
not telling you,
To be
well, the
interviewed.
speed limit is 25.
Yeah.
All right, I got caught twice going 36. If you're 10 miles over, not 5.
Yes.
The camera will go off.
Mhm.
Okay. Now I've been going up Tremont Avenue all my life, and 35 to 40 miles an hour is usually what you do, you know. And old habits die hard. So the one by Lehman High School, I got hit 3 times, twice at 36. All right, so you know, yeah, it takes a while. Now I don't go that way anymore.
See, a change of behavior. Yes, sir, and then we're going to have Beverly come up about something else.
Senator Biagi's office.
Oh, good.
Make a few announcements.
You're on in just like 2 minutes, but you were here. Then thank you for being here. And Millie, yes, Millie had her hand up. I'm sorry. Yes.
The cars that are riding in the fire lane, are they being caught by any cameras or anything?
Well,
This is
now they
happening
will
every
be.
day.
Now they will be.
Now they will be. Good point.
But especially near the bridge.
Yeah.
Where I see it happening.
Yeah.
There's one there.
That's a different type of camera. That's an Argus camera. That's used by the police. It actually clocks your license plate, and it may have facial recognition features of some sort. But that's basically just if their crime is committed on the island, they can go back and look at people's license plates.
But what about people that are actually driving there and not being caught?
It's not done. My understanding is it's not done. That's not what that's there for. It's not there as a traffic camera. It's there as it's supposed to be a deterrent. You know, because City Island's more of a self-contained community that you can catch someone in that way. All right. Is that yes, Miss?
Okay, the school system.
Yes.
When all the cars are there.
Yes.
You have the kids. You have no choice but to go into the middle lane. Now, are they gonna ticket us for going into the middle lane?
No, it's for speed.
It's just a speed camera. What she was saying is there will be a reference like there's references of those things now, whereas there used to not be references of those things.
And just
it's not something to be afraid of. It's something to keep the kids safer in the school.
Yeah. And they are experimenting in Brooklyn. Before I get off the mic here, they are experimenting in Brooklyn with something. It's not a speed hump. It's called a speed cushion. Someone who actually watches these videos found it and sent it to me, and I actually had to run it by the police commissioners. They are looking into these things in Brooklyn, and these are speed humps they can put on bus routes. So if they are successful in Brooklyn, it's by Marcy Playground. If anyone goes and hangs out in Brooklyn, you can go check it out for yourself. If it is successful there in deterring speed, we're going to push them to try to get one on City Island. Yes, Miss.
Just because you brought that up, I actually got a ticket by Marcy in Brooklyn.
I was not responsible for that. I just throw that out there immediately.
It was a school camera
Yes.
as well, but it was in the middle of the summer after school hours.
Yes.
And so is that going to be on here 24/7?
It will be on during the summer. It will be on school days. It will be on from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.
They do have summer camp going.
And they do have a summer camp, and they are near playgrounds. But hold on, we're gonna move over to another fun topic, which is development and Beverly Jones.
Hi everybody, real quick. Okay, so as some of you know who have attended our meetings here before, we don't charge dues because we don't want there to be barriers to people being able to participate in meetings like this. Everybody's welcome all the time, regardless of whether or not you are in a position to financially support the organization or not. That said, we do have expenses, and so we are working on 2 different opportunities for you to support the organization. So keep your eyes and ears tuned to social media because there may be a special event coming up this spring. And now that we have a beautiful new logo designed by Kim Woodruff, we are going to make t-shirts featuring that logo so that everybody can proudly support City Island Rising by buying a t-shirt for yourself, your friends, your family, birthday gifts, whatever. And so keep an eye out for that too. We're gonna promote that both at these meetings and through social media when there's an opportunity. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Again, help us raise our funds. We had a great day. I believe it was Giving Tuesday. We raised $700 without really doing much of.
You guys did that.
Yeah, you guys did that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And then obviously, as the movies are coming out here, we're reaching out to them as well to give money that we will then put back and invest in the community. I'm going to let our friend here from Senator Biaggi's office talk because we would love to hear what she's been up to, and she's been a strong supporter of the group. And is Nancy still here? Nancy left, but one of our own is now the Health and Human Service Director for the Borough President, Ruben Diaz, Nancy Heck. So we want to make sure, we can't give her a round of applause because she's not here, but that's very good to have someone in city government who is right here from City Island in a good position. So remember that. Nancy Heck can help you with things. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jonathan. I work for Senator Biaggi. I just have a few announcements. Number one, we are continuing our mobile office hours at the Bronx Houses, which is on 990 Pelham Parkway. Come by on Wednesdays between 10 a.m. and 3. Someone will be there to help you with any issues or questions you may have about anything. Number two, NILAG is having a mobile free legal service. It's at 291 West 231st Street in the Bronx on February 27th, April 27th, and June 22nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. I will leave the flyers with the information here. And finally, speaking of budgets, there will be another budget forum. This time it will be in the Westchester part of Senator Biaggi's district. But please come, just because you're not from the other side of the district, your voice being here helps. By the way, I was at that last budget forum that you attended. The Gang of Three, as they call them here, were quite effective. Also, there's a little place on the Westchester side of the district that may be responsible or not for your water issues in the sound.
No, they are responsible. There's no not about it.
Yes.
They are being sued by the federal government and the state, and they've accepted culpability or whatever that word is, and they have penalties against them, and they have no money. He's talking about Mount Vernon. Yes. So
I said may or may not, so I wouldn't have to mention names. I'm trying to have plausible.
Don't you also have office hours at Community Board 10?
Yes, we do.
There we go. The Thursday, I think.
I think it's the third Thursday, I'm not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it. And I will leave all of this here.
Great.
And have a good evening.
Thank you, Jonathan. And the senator is actually helping us arrange a meeting to deal with some of those water pollution issues. So thank you to Senator Biaggi for that. Okay, so we actually have some other stuff that we are working on. So we have two presenters from our own ranks here, 2 members, and if people have things that they are passionate about and they put together presentations, this is your meeting. It's not as much about us speaking, it's about you guys speaking. So we're going to do this ladies first. So Barbara Zahm is here from the City Island Oyster Project,
Yes.
and she wants to bring some information to our attention. So let's give a hand to Barbara Zahm.
Okay, so this is another issue that's just come up. It came up, I just learned about it yesterday at a City Island Oyster Reef project. It has to do with Consolidated Yacht Yard. It's been sold, and it's been sold to a company that wants to bring big cranes in and store them. It's a crane company. I don't know a lot about it, but I know people are starting to get very upset and disturbed about it because it will affect the nautical flavor of our island. The Consolidated Yacht yard, it's a yard, is the oldest boat yard I think in the city. I'm not sure the city, but certainly City Island. And I better read this to you because I don't know a lot about it. I'm just learning about it. But there's a petition now that I've been asked to bring here and to see if I can get people to sign and to learn more about it. And of course, we'll post these things.
Sure. So what is the petition to say? Not
It says the owner, let me just read it, it's a very short. The owner of Consolidated Yacht Yard at 157 Pilot Street has entered into a contract with a major construction crane company, the U.S. Crane and Rigging, Inc., based in Roanoke, Virginia. The current owner has filed a request for a permit that would allow the crane company to use this property as a contractor's yard. If this permit is granted and the sale goes through, the whole issue is will the permit get granted? Consolidated Yacht Yard, which has been an active boat yard since 1856, will cease to exist. The land would then be used to store cranes and other equipment used for construction, seriously changing City Island as we know it and endangering historic structures near the yard. The New York City Department of City Planning has on its website, that has to do with City Island, the only commercial and manufacturing uses permitted are those that reflect the island's nautical flavor or serve the retail needs of residents and visitors. There are many reasons why the City Island community would be negatively affected if the consolidated lot was turned into a place for crane storage, specifically regarding the quality of life here and the historical importance of the yacht yard. So I'm just representing one of the groups that has heard about this. It's the Historical Society is getting involved, and there's other groups. And Civic has written a letter. So you just need to be informed of this.
Yeah.
And I can pass these around. People can sign them. And I don't know where this is going to lead. This is like brand new, but it's timely. We don't have a lot of time.
No. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've been researching this for about a week now. The zoning piece is going to be.
We have a second mic, so.
Yeah.
Welcome to the game show here.
Yeah. Here, sign in the back. No, sign in the back.
No, sorry, no.
The zoning piece is the key piece that we need to fight on. All right? That's going to be a big chunk for them to overcome. They will be dependent upon us being quiet and unaware. So the zoning piece is the piece. The permit piece, I don't know what a permit is.
The zoning.
But it is the zoning, the City Island, which they would have to overcome.
They'd have to overcome that.
Yes, and they can, let's face it. I mean, developers and big people.
I think the buildings department has to give them a permit to do.
Yeah, I'm saying it's doable if we're quiet.
Yeah.
Right.
So about quiet, we hope to have a press event at Consolidated. And so I'm going to say, stay tuned, somehow we will communicate to you. We need people to come out and object to what's going on. We need to show them can you imagine cranes coming up City Island? Can you imagine it coming by boat? And what it's gonna do to that area?
I live in Pilot Cove.
And can you imagine, we have Pilot Cove across the street, senior housing. You've got to have a way for ambulances and buses to go there, and we've got cranes coming in.
And
It's crazy.
since we're dealing with zoning, Bob's on CB10.
This actually came before the community boards committee last night.
Oh.
So we were discussing it. The district manager is reaching out to the crane company to find out what exactly they're planning. You know, we don't think that they can take cranes for US streets. The streets can't handle it, the bridge can't handle it. I think it would probably only be a waterway project. Not that you shouldn't fight that as well, I'm not saying you should. But let's get the facts. In the meantime, you're doing all the right things. But I just want you to know the community board is on top of this as well.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate. Our community board district manager, his name is Matt Cruz. He has a background in both city planning, and he used to work at the Department of Buildings. Matt Cruz, he's the district manager of Community Board 10. So he is, as Bob was saying, not only knowledgeable, but really a tremendous resource that we have here. And Matt did call me yesterday just to let us know that he's on top of it as well. So, you know, between the good work that Barbara and Lois and the community board are doing, I think we're in good hands here.
There's a lot of speculation.
We need the facts.
So, you know, we suggested that you reach out, try to bring them into the table, sit down, find out what their actual plan is, and let's find out if it's feasible. As far as the oyster project is concerned, if they're gonna bring cranes up on the waterfront where you're planning on putting an oyster ban, obviously there's gonna be problems with that as well. So the environmental issues are certainly a factor as well. But again, the community board is looking at all of these, and you guys should continue doing what you do.
And this is very early on, but if this is something that concerns you, sign the petition. That's why Barbara offered to come, and we want, you know, because she'll have all your emails then, and then we also, when more information is coming out, we'll make sure to give it to you. However you feel about this, it's very important that you be informed. And someone did email our Rising email box asking for more information. So Barbara just happened to call me today, which I appreciate, and offered to come here and present, so we wanted to get this here. So our last presentation of the evening is on a project that is extremely important and very transformative to the region. Actually, a community board project again. Roy Smith, who's here, who's our transportation expert, our guru, he actually went and prepared a one-pager, which was given out earlier. And I'm going to give you the mic, Roy, so you can explain to us what's going on with the Metro North project.
Okay, so before we start this, I'm going to take like 30 seconds and do a word association thing. If I say the word Fonzie, does everybody know what I'm talking about?
Hey!
Okay, remember that because we'll get to that later. So I went to the community board meeting yesterday evening, and there was a presentation there from Joe O'Donnell, who's the Director of Public Affairs for MTA Capital Construction, and he was talking about the Penn Station Access Project. So I'm going to give you 150 years of history in about 30 seconds here. 1866. Harlem River and Portchester Railroad began service between New York City and New Rochelle, and of course at that time the Bronx was not part of New York City meant Manhattan. We know that today is the track that Amtrak runs on. It's gone through a bunch of different corporate changes over the years. The important thing is that passenger service stopped in 1931, I want to say. I have it written down here somewhere. So the plan here is the tracks are still there. Amtrak uses the tracks. CSX, which is a freight railroad that you probably never heard of, they use the tracks. And the plan here is to get Metro North to start using the tracks too. And the idea is that the trains that come down from Stamford through New Rochelle, they would keep coming down here on the Amtrak tracks, go over the bridge into Queens, go through Queens, join up with the Long Island Railroad tracks in Long Island City, and end up in Penn Station. People have been talking about that for years, and it looks like it might actually happen at some point. There's a $1.6 billion budget that the MTA has approved to do this. Still not 100% sure what will happen because they're still negotiating with Amtrak. Amtrak owns the tracks. Amtrak has to give Metro North permission to use it. They're fighting back and forth about all sorts of stuff. I suspect fundamentally they're fighting back and forth about who pays for it, because that's usually what most things come down to. But it's a little bit more than that. There's some technical stuff they're fighting about. Anyway, so if this ever happens, you will be able to go over to Co-op City or over to Morris Park, like right near where Einstein is, hop on a train, and be down in Penn Station in 30 minutes, which is really pretty cool. It won't be real cheap. It's certainly not going to be a subway fare. If anybody's taken the Metro North trains, like from Botanic Gardens, the one-way fare is $7.25. My guess is it will be the same as that, which is actually about on par with what the express bus costs. So it's not, out of the world, but it's certainly more than the subway. What are some other issues here? Current plan has no parking. In the plan, parking may still happen, but the guy that was there yesterday evening was talking about the track infrastructure stuff, and parking is somebody else, so maybe that's DOT or the city. You were there. I mean, what was the deal on that?
That's gonna be the contractors once they get to that stage, so this is just infrastructure.
Right. Another possible downside is while they know where the stations are going to be, they're still figuring out little minor details like where the entrances and exits and ramps and elevators and stuff are going to be, and they may conceivably end up doing some eminent domain stuff and displace some residents or businesses to make room for that. Don't really know. Anyway, so the basic schedule here is supposedly by the end of Q1 2020, which is where we are now, there will be a draft RFP, which is request for proposals out. Sometime in Q2 of this year, there will be a FONSI, which is not what you think it is. It is a finding of no significant impact. I just learned that last night. I did not know that. It's basically an environmental impact statement. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go through all the details here, but they're basically talking about 2025, 5 years from now is when they expect this might actually happen. We all know how government schedules work, so I wouldn't hold your breath, but it's moving along. So anyway, there's a piece of paper that you can read a little bit more about it. There's a link on here to the website. You can go and look at all the pretty pictures and slideshows and stuff like that.
And there'll be lots of public comment opportunities, so.
Absolutely, and Roy did this one pager. It's going to go on our social media pages tomorrow. And he was nice enough to get the slide deck that you guys all got as well, so we'll get that on here. Right before Dan speaks, and Dan's going to close us out, I forgot to mention this earlier. How many people here are registered to vote? Good. Again, we get a lot of attention paid to us because City Island is a community that votes, and that's very important. New York State is also a closed primary state. What does that mean? It means if in the April 24th primary, if you want to vote for either party's presidential nominee in either primary, you need to be registered in that party. Now they changed the laws to make that much easier, but tomorrow is the deadline. So if you want to vote in the Democratic primary and you are not a Democrat, you need to be a registered Democrat by tomorrow. If you are another party and you would like to be a registered Republican to vote in the Republican primary, you also need to be registered by tomorrow. So I have a whole clipboard here of voter registration forms. If you want to re-register your party, whatever party you want to register in,
Or if you want to register.
or you want to register at all, but almost everybody hit their hand up on that one, but you want to register at all, yep, come up here at the end of the meeting, fill out this form. I'll drop it off at the Board of Elections tomorrow for you. Save you the postage, make sure it gets in on time. I'll even email you if you give me your email to let you know that everything went A-okay.
Can I use that for a name change?
Yes.
Okay.
But tomorrow is the deadline. So if you want to vote in either party's primary, again, I don't care which, I want you to be empowered and I want you to be able to exercise your right as a Democratic small d citizen of this country. So,
Question.
yes.
I registered independent.
Yes.
So that means I can't vote.
You can't.
Unless I change it.
Unless you change it. That's exactly right. If you're in New York State, if you want it, you have to be in the party to vote in the primary.
Yeah.
And it used to be you had to do this a whole year in advance.
So take one, Eileen.
But
Yeah, I will.
thanks to our state legislators changing it, now it's only 2 months before. Yes.
Is tomorrow the last day to change your party affiliation?
Yes, it is. Valentine's Day. So if you love to vote, come over here and fill it out afterwards. Barbara.
Just for the primary, though. It's
Just for the presidential primary.
not- Yeah.
Remember, our congressional and our state legislative primaries has changed. It used to be in September. It's not going to be in September anymore. It's going to be the last Tuesday of June now. So you're going to vote for both Congress and the state Senate and the state Assembly if there are primaries, if there are contested primaries.
You can only
Will be,
vote in their primaries when you're part of your race.
that's right.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true as well.
When's the primary?
The primary is June 24th.
That's my birthday.
Happy birthday. I'll have the almost. It will be here, but we'll have to do something for that. Planning ahead here. No, but if you want to vote in the presidential primary, tomorrow is the deadline. I have the form for you up here. Fill it out, okay? I advertised we were going to do this. We want you to be empowered. Thank you all. And Dan, Dan's going to close us out.
I just want to remind everybody, your party affiliation does not affect how you vote.
Yeah.
You vote your conscience no matter what party you affiliate with. But if you want to vote in the primary,
yes.
You know, if you're not voting in a primary, you're basically just giving up a vote. So keep that in mind.
So just real quick small business conversation. Lauren and I and John met. John Paradiso, who's back there with glasses, just give a quick hello. We're gonna get it to you eventually. It's almost done, but he basically created a Google Maps of City Island with every vacant storefront on all of City Island, so you can take a walk down City Island Avenue virtually and see where all of the holes are. That being said, next month we're gonna basically create an actual real life map that we're gonna put up, and you guys are gonna tell us what we need. So we can continue that conversation, in which case we'll then put it all together and create something for everybody, because there are too many vacant storefronts. Yes?
What happened with Ms. Blackman?
We're rain checking that. So she couldn't make it today. So there was conversation last meeting about, do you want to say essentially we're in correlation with that, we're going to create like a passport program, which is basically just a thing where you can get, it's like a coupon booklet that you can buy that generates money for small businesses on City Island, where you can in return get discounts to, let's say, my store or restaurants or whatever. If you want to help with that, is that what that's for or no? You can email us. Independently of that, two other things real quick. We're from the future pizza place across the street. They're ready to go. They're waiting on their final permits. Things take a little while. So if you don't know, Anthony's, which is former Filomeno's, is opening at the bistro soon. Sorry for the delay. We're working on it.
Yes.
And then the other thing is, if people, also small business related, if anyone's looking for work, the census needs people, and starting pay is $25 an hour. $28 an hour, I stand corrected. So you can probably get that information yourselves, but if you can't get that information, you can email us, and we'll forward you all of the information you need. So just do us a favor and let us know what we can do so we can talk about storefronts, so in the next couple years we can fill them and do stuff.
Also, I made a mistake, and always have a friend who's smarter than you to stand around and correct you on those mistakes. The primary is not April 24th, it's April 28th. Tuesday, April 28th. So I'm not giving anyone fake information on when to go vote. April 28th is the primary. Thank you all very much. And if anyone has any questions, we'll hang around, but thank you and good night.
Thank you.